Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.
Well, hello there, DFW Soccer Curious. Welcome to another episode of Third Degree, the podcast. Pending he gets his computer situation handled and straightened out, potentially scheduled to appear, unless we notify you otherwise, should be Dan Crooke, but he's not here at the moment, so hopefully he'll get his computer problems troubleshot and on with us here in a little bit. But we do have your hero, my hero, everybody's hero, editor, founder of thirddegree.net, and the original soccer influencer himself, Buzz Carrick. Come in, Buzz.
Hey, Peter, calling in tonight from 45 minutes west of El Paso, being serenaded by the loudest hotel air conditioner in the history of the world because it's 1,000 degrees outside.
Oh,
yeah,
and
happy to be here.
And you're traveling because you're working and you are doing big time TV for what sporting event?
Dirt track racing. Yeah.
Three car.
Yeah, no, nothing about it. Cars go room and they go in a circle. That's all I got.
Are you out at the dirt track getting covered in dirt?
No, not in the minute. No, thank goodness.
Not now at this minute, but when you're covering are you?
And this one, our little TV trailer truck is going to be on cement. So thankfully I will be
all right
inside of a thing that will get covered in dust from the dirt track. I think they water it down, though. I think it's not going to be so dusty.
That's hilarious. Well, welcome back down to the Southwest from the Pacific Northwest.
I'm certainly not here for my dirt track knowledge. I'm here for my TV ability. That's very different things.
What a climate shift you've gone through in the last 6 weeks.
I was like ankle deep in snow like 4 days ago, and now I'm in 90-degree weather in El Paso.
Hey, I thought we would take the opportunity to pimp something right off the bat, Buzz, because we opened the show by saying DFW Curious, and nudged by a comment I made offhandedly a couple of episodes ago. This week in the Third Degree t-shirt store, you have launched a complete line of curious wear.
Yeah.
the curious line.
I rolled out, using like some colors and fonts. I rolled out an Atletico curious, a Rodeo curious, a Trinity curious, and I'm even working up a DFW curious to match the actual tagline these days.
Yeah,
it'll come out a couple of days from now when I get home.
And if you look closely somewhere in the store, you might find another curious shirt in there.
Yeah, you might.
That shall not be named out loudly here on the pod.
The original, yeah.
That's right. But I do like the idea of just a generic DFW soccer curious.
Yeah, we took a vote. I did one with using like the DFW airport logo for style, and then I did one using the old 90s U.S. soccer with the soccer ball flying through the U.S. for style, and that one won. So that's what it's going to look like. It's going to be tribute.
I dig it. Well, hopefully Dan will join us here before too long. We will get to those clubs. There's Atletico news, there's Rodeo news, there's Trinity news, obviously, North Texas news. But we will start with Buzz, in 30 years, you and I have seen some really weird effing MLS soccer games.
Yeah.
But what happened Saturday night at Toyota Stadium between Dallas and Houston for the Texas Derby goes right up on the list as one of the weirdest soccer games I have ever watched, and I was there in person for it. Dallas takes a lead, goes behind, ties it up, goes back in the lead, and wins the game 4-3 over the Dynamo. And what a 90 minutes that was.
Yeah, just a bonkers game of swings and changes, and really, if you look at the ebbs and flows, you'll see that Dallas had a pretty good clamp on the game, except for about 4.5 minutes in later in the sort of mid to late first half, where it went sideways for a good 5 minutes, and then they recovered and found their way again, and then got their hands back, clamped on the game, and from there was a red card involved, and there was, just fabulousness of, in terms of pure, beautiful soccer. This is not, Barcelona versus Man City. This is slugfest MLS rivalry nastiness, and it was fun.
It was wild because up until, well, yeah, for the, while Dallas took the 2-0 lead, Dallas was dominant in that period of time, and Houston just did not look up for the game at all. And there was a moment in time before the Collodi howler that I thought, okay, this game could get out of hand pretty quickly, and we might be watching a remarkable Texas derby, but in a completely different way than it turned out. And when Collodi made the passing error, which, by the way, everybody in the stadium saw he was about to do other than Collodi himself. In fact, people around me were like, no, don't, Pat, don't do. Oh, shit, he did it. The crazy part of it was, Buzz, is in that second when that goal was scored by Houston because of the error, you could literally watch the life force go out of the team and the crowd for that matter. And it stayed that way almost through the entirety of the second half. And of course, that's, the first half. And then that's when Houston just started, rolling in goals. And before we knew it, we went from a 2-0 dominant lead that I thought was going to go really wild to being behind 3-2. And man, the life force was just gone at that point. So kudos to Quill for whatever he did at halftime well, I know what he did at halftime. He put his best player back out on the field is what he did.
That helps. I was picturing the scene from Necessary Roughness when the assistant coach starts throwing the trash can around and says he's going to puke down their necks and all that stuff.
That's right.
Yeah. It's classic.
Hair dryer treatment. Yeah. Were you surprised Musa didn't start the game?
Yes. I was surprised that after the 1 week experiment of the 3-4-3, I thought for sure that everything about this team that makes it really good is the double forward combo. I thought for sure he would go back to Musa and Farrington. And then, the word is that Musa had some sort of little knock or problem, or, sometimes there's a difference between things that hurt and things that are injuries. And it probably was, I'm just going to guess, it probably was sort of a scenario where he was hurting a little bit. I'm pretty sure that it was a game day decision because they kept Simmons back. The GA Diaz forward they have picked this year. That's a big, huge physical striker. They kept him back and did not send him with North Texas. So I'm assuming they weren't even sure that Musa would make the bench. So they probably did some kind of test and then realized he could play, but maybe let's just hold him out, from the start, and that'd be fine. We can stick with that 3-4-3 that worked really well the week before. That gives you a whole other problem, by the way. But it's not like they really missed him. I mean, Logan Farrington stepped into the role and did a phenomenal job. So.
Holy cow. Before I get into the Farrington part of it, before the game, it was interesting because, one, I had seen the note that Musa wasn't starting, and two, during the warm-ups, he was like off on his own. Like he wasn't even with the substitutes who were all kind of gathered in a group on the far side of the field. And Musa was just kind of off by his own, passing the ball against the advertising board, which I don't know if you're supposed to do that, but that's a different thing. I guess if you're Musa.
Musa can do what he wants.
Yeah, right.
Rules don't bother him.
And, I thought, man, is he pissed that he's not starting? And then I thought, oh, you know what? He's getting ready to leave to go join Croatia for the international weekend. And maybe there's a reason why that plays into this or whatever. But then I saw him, having a laugh with somebody, one of the medical staff, and then he got involved in one of the final warm-up pieces with the starting 11. And so he seemed fine at that point. But it was so. I'm just going to chalk it up to probably a combination of that and the fact that they knew that they wanted to keep him healthy for the Croatia deal because they really need him to make the Croatia team so they can sell him in the summer for $1 billion.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to risk him at this late stage if he has any kind of issue at all. And certainly having had Logan sort of sit out the previous game, it's okay to rotate him in effectively. That's what it sort of became. Musa didn't seem to react negatively to it, so that's fine.
Yeah.
You might want to get a little bitty glimpse, perhaps, of what it looks like with Logan and no Musa, perhaps.
Yeah, and credit to Musa. He was a big celebrator on the bench when Logan just absolutely went bonkers. And that first goal happened so early in the game and was out of the blue, out of nowhere. I actually initially missed the start of it. I only saw it literally as he was that crazy first touch. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Beaver, where'd you get that first touch? What a sweet romantic first touch that was.
So beautiful.
And then he
Burkamp,
sat his
like somebody said,
sat his defender, finished it sweetly, and within less than 5 minutes in, the team's up 1-0. And who needs the Moose when you got the Beaver?
Yeah, I'm going to paraphrase, but even Farrington was surprised by his own touch. He said something in the postgame he knew what he was doing. He was trying to bring it down, but he was surprised by how good it was. And it was and that's a punch in the face, punch right in the mouth to the other team. And then they got caught, and then he immediately turned around and caught him again. And they were staggering. They were out of it. And then Collodi let him back.
Yeah. Houston, I'm telling you, man, Houston showed up, they were just not ready to play that game in any way, shape, or form. Wow. And then halftime and the changes are made. I was somewhat surprised he took Kappas off. I
think Kappas, you remember a couple of weeks ago, there was a game where Kappas kind of got subbed out with a little bit of a knock, and then the next game he was questionable. We didn't think he was going to play, and he played. I kind of feel like he's maybe been carrying something for a couple of weeks. He didn't have a great game. He wasn't great, Kappas, but I was a bit surprised that he was the choice to get Musa on. But, part of that too was Kayik and Valiente were both playing really well. So, you don't necessarily want to take one of those guys off, and Kayik can easily drop back. You can just do a little rotation with Valiente to get it more looking like a two-striker with the 10 behind really easily. So it's it's fine. It's okay. Kappas doesn't even play 90 minutes every game. That's okay. It was not his best game, Kappas's, I don't think. They were bypassing the midfield quite a bit.
Yeah.
But the other person to give a lot of credit to is Michael Goldfish Collodi, because he really quickly forgot about the whole thing and was great. And at the end of the game, he made a save that kept the win going. It was a spectacular save. So.
Man, if that goal had been scored and ended up 4-4, that would have just been the biggest gut punch. An absolute heartbreaker. And it was a bit of redemption a whole bunch of redemption for Collodi for the save. It's funny how that 4 or 5 minute period when the game shifted like that, it's weird how those things happen, and you can almost feel it in the stadium. The first one happens and you're like, man, now it's 2-1 and 2-0 is the most dangerous lead. And you could almost just see it happening in real time. Well, I mean, you could see it happening in real time, but it wasn't a surprise when the second goal went in and then the third goal went in, and the team just looked so disconnected in that. And how it all ended up turning out, I thought, was maybe the biggest credit to not just Quill, but the players themselves for getting head right with ball and figuring it out and just getting it right. Now, obviously, the red card was probably the most pivotal change or moment of the game, because it really changed everything for Houston, who then suddenly just tried to park the bus for the next 20 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah. But Dallas had tied it up by the time that red card came out, so it was 3-3.
But they were just trying not to lose the game, and they just kept throwing the ball out to midfield, and Dallas would come back and they'd throw the ball out at midfield. It was just it was quite crazy. By the way, Ben Olsen, I was watching him. I don't know why this is, but Ben Olsen appears to do nothing except turn around and argue with somebody or everybody on his bench all the time. That's all he appears to look to be doing. I can't figure out what else he's doing over there.
The commentators are making fun of him because he was even had his back to the field when one of the goals happened.
Yeah, because he literally every time I look down, he's turning around, facing and having an argument with somebody on the bench, or at least he looks like he's having an argument. Yeah.
Maybe he's just asking what the hell's wrong with these players that I have. Yeah.
Well, that one guy that scored the first goal, what's his last name? Begins with a G.
Yes, it is.
He's a nice player. We'll figure it out. I can't remember it. I apologize for not thinking of it off the top of my head. Gilleen or something like Guilherme. That's it.
Guilherme.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're Anglo and butchering the crap out of that.
Anybody listening knows he's a nice player. They got a good one in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that dude's legit. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a good dude.
Good player. Yeah, for sure.
Very nice. There was a good Houston crowd, by the way. They showed up with, I'd say they probably had 40, 50 people show up. They were all the way at the other side of the West Stands from the Rhine. So that was cool to see that those guys show up. And other than that, it was nuts, man. I mean, I could go through and talk about all the different ask, different players. We could run through the different players and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But Beaver was the star of the show, but then Musa comes on, and man, he's so clearly, and this is, this because of seeing this in person, seeing him play in person, Buzz, he's just so obviously a different level player from everybody else on the field.
Yeah. Well, he's got a pedigree that they don't have, and he has a nose for. This is the thing about great strikers. A lot of it is just you have to be born with it. It's instinctual. Pepe was the same way. You would say, well, what does Pepe do that other people don't do? You're like, man, it's hard to say other than the ball goes in the net. It's like
right.
There are other players that can run. There are other players that can body up. There are other players that can trap the ball and bring it down. There's other guys that can dig it out. But putting it in the back of the net is not something everybody can do. It's even players that are really talented can come to an MLS team and just not ever get the ball in the back of the net. Let's use Christian Coleman as an example. A dude that did everything right, could play every part of the game probably just as good as Petter Musa, except the ball doesn't go in the back of the net. It's just something different about guys.
Yeah, I kind of felt bad for Beaver because he was clearly the star of the show and had had such a wonderful performance. But Musa, in many ways, ends up being the headline because he scored the winning goal, and all of the effort and skill and foresight to create the tying goal that he'll never get. That's kind of the crazy part of this is that, 4 years from now, nobody will remember, the record books won't remember the fact that that's essentially a Musa goal because, he makes the run, he gets all the way to the end line, he just dribbles to the post, and then he puts the ball across and hits off a Houston player. Looks like he did it on purpose. And it's just tremendous, man. It was so much fun to watch him play.
Speaking of Farrington getting disrespected, I have a TV broadcast bitch to make because they had for FC Dallas as their man to watch at the beginning of the game. They had Petter Musa. I was like, dude, you guys got the starting lineup an hour before the game, and you were so lazy you couldn't. Now, granted, they built a little package, like whatever. You have tapes in the truck. You have digital files around tapes anymore. You could easily put together 2 Farrington things or whatever. You could easily have made a graphic, but you stuck with Musa. It's like, dude, he's not starting. He might not even come into the game. You don't even know. If he's got a knock, he may not play. And then at the end of the game, they picked Musa for the player of the game. And I'm like, dude, Farrington had an amazing game. What are you doing? And it's like they were just so dialed into the Musa's the only player here that matters narrative that they just couldn't even see their way around it. It was awful. Made me mad.
Yeah, there were lots of interesting performances. We've spent a lot of time kind of asking out loud about the Valiente character and how good he is. This was obviously one of his better performances, and the pass that he made to start the second goal was a really nice slicing pass through ball. And Johansson's cross, by the way, that's interesting that those 2 guys that they got in the offseason were critical to that. And it was Valiente's best game so far. There are still things about his game that I still have some questions about in terms of him being more impactful, but at least there was some impact this particular time.
Well, this is the first game where I really felt like you could see him, specifically doing things to the game where there was a game impact. I mean, obviously 2 assists, one of them was a secondary, but still 2 assists. And this is where the goals added stat is dumb. He had the lowest goals added stat on the FC Dallas. Meanwhile, he had 2 assists. So whatever. He was making some line breaking. He was doing some switching. It was the first time, to me, he was clearly trying to dictate to the game. I maybe would have liked to seen a little more pace control, but it's been 4 games. Let's give the guy a chance to work his way into it. Johansson is very hit or miss. Offensively, obviously, he's a huge component. He has the primary assist on Farrington's second goal. I think he was involved in the own goal buildup, that he won't get credit for. Obviously, offensively, he's got a lot in his bag. Defensively, he has one significant problem, which is that if Dallas is playing in their low block and just sort of standing there waiting, and a dude on the other team just tees him up for a 40-yard run at pace, Johansson is such a big guy. He's large. He has trouble, turning and then going instantly at full speed. And so he has guys run by him a couple of times. And that's why he got burned on that third goal where he did not hold the line because he was trying to run with that guy. And that was a poor choice where he should have just let the guy go because the guy was blasting past the offside by a million miles an hour. Granted, that pass is ridiculous.
Yeah, that pass
from Guilherme or whatever his name is, and then
Guilherme. I'm just going to call him Guilherme.
Guilherme, yeah, sure. Goulet, Bobby Goulet. And they, maybe that was why Kappas was listed, because usually Kappas closes down in midfield, and he did not close that one down. And Ramiro never does. That's not understandable. So maybe that was part of why Kappas was like, okay, he's not moving very well. Let's go ahead and bring him out. So multiple mistakes on that goal. But to go back to the point is that Johansson, like Bernie, is still sometimes hit or miss, a little defensive frailty here and there. Mainly in that regard, his inability to turn on a guy full breaking on him. It takes him a minute to warm up to get up to full speed. So, but otherwise, he dominates guys in the air. You can see it in the pictures all the time. He's smashing guys by out jumping them by considerable margins. And then the second goal, of course, was even worse with just I hate zonal marking, and that's not even an individual person's breakdown; it's a team collective breakdown. And in particular, when teams crash it in two layers like that, the second layer doesn't get picked up, and that's exactly what happened on that goal. Everybody went with the first layer of guys and left the second layer wide open. And he wasn't the only player wide open. The dude that scored, who's also got a name I can't pronounce.
Yeah, it was obviously it was a miserable, very short period of time, and to see 5 goals happen in the first half was not anything anybody had anticipated. And again, as I was saying earlier, if literally 5 minutes before you had said to me there will be 5 goals in this game, I would have went, wow, Dallas might actually score 5 goals, because that's how dominant they were in that opening part until the Collodi error. So it is pretty crazy. So when Musa comes in and they take Kappas out, what is the tactical shift there? Does formation change in any way, or why don't you explain that?
It's a shift back to the 2-striker system that's been the bulk of the system this year. The Musa and Farrington combo, the Parrington, as they've been calling it, perfect Parrington, the team's been calling it, which is a funny nickname. With Valiente dropping back into a single sort of 10 role. So basically you're returning to the 5-3-2 that has been your base system most of the time with that sub. They're in that system, and they get the own goal, and that ties the game, gets them back even at 3. And then Delgado and Benjamin come in, and that's a swap where they took out Norris. They took out a center back, and they actually went to a back 4. And so at that point, it was literally a 4-4-2, although they were playing so aggressively. They really was almost like a back 2. It was almost like a 2-4-4, if you will.
Yeah.
Because they had guys so far up the field. No one actually plays a 2-4-4. It's a 4-4-2, but you're getting forward in an offensive manner. You're overloading into space. That's pretty standard 4-4-2 stuff. So they grab the game winner from Musa, and they bring on Ibeagha back on. Sebastian, not back on, excuse me. They sub in Sebastian Ibeagha, and that switches it back to, because they take off Farrington, that switches it back to the 3-4-3 they started the game with, which gives them that high press capability, gives them their normal sort of back 5 with a couple guys in front that they're sort of used to playing by this point. So it's a pretty nice adaptation by Quill to bring on effectively an extra mid and take off a center back to give himself an overloaded midfield and then dominate the possession even more. And it's the first time we've seen Dallas outpossess somebody in, God, since Quill got here, maybe 51%. And it worked.
Yeah, and they were out. I mean, that's not just because of the red card. They had clearly more possession of the game and control of the game even prior to the red card.
Yeah,
it was an impressive performance all the way. I will say, I'm sure he felt like he had to make the substitutions just to get some fresh legs on. But the Delgado Benjamin insertion was not an improvement. Benjamin was turned the ball over 3 or 4 times, really bad turnovers. Houston was able to counter, obviously, that late opportunity Houston had on the Collodi save.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of either one of those guys yet. I mean, Delgado, I've always obviously had issues with since last year. Benjamin just feels like he's still trying to figure it out.
No, he's 20. He must be an academy kid.
Yeah. So it's not like they've got a lot of depth in these. My point is that the team is lacking in depth in these situations where they're trying to close out games and that kind of, not that Dallas is in that position very often.
The thing I liked about it was by bringing on the extra midfielder, it allowed them to overload the mid-center section. And then it made it really difficult for Houston to build out at all. Houston had to resort to sort of thumping and chasing it, which is probably what the goal was, and not let Jeremy or Hector Herrera or whoever else. I think Artur's hurt, wasn't in the game, but ordinarily he would be a handful in midfield. So and you saw as a result in the collective game for top to bottom, Dallas ends up with 15 shots, which is what you want, 7 on target, which again is like half. We always talk about that, right? We want to see them at 50% chances at home, and they limited the road team to only 10 shots and only 4 on target. So that was, that's the balance you want. You want to be able to make it difficult for them to build through the middle of your field. Houston's a team that doesn't have high possession, but when they get the ball, they want to play through their midfield. They want to play through those DPs they've got in there. So, they made it hard for him, and that was a nice tactical switch up by Quill, even though I'm with you, those two guys that weren't great, but it's what he has. And we should talk at some point a little bit about how shallow his bench is. Quill's is. He doesn't have a lot of really great choices on the bench these days.
No, and, the Musa situation was interesting because, to your point, if Musa's hurt, Farrington is obviously a number one choice and shows a lot of promise. But after that, I don't know where they're going at that position. The rookie who I've yet to see. So I don't really know much about him or anything.
He's super raw.
Yeah. And now
but he has a lot of nice traits that you like in 2 years you like.
Sure.
And so Julio's hurt. Deason's more of a wing. Really, if you don't have Musa and Farrington, the 2-striker system becomes sort of obsolete and not worth doing. Perhaps that's why we're seeing this 3-4-3 a bit, because we know Quill has a fair number of wings. We know right now he likes that back 5. So, okay, that 3-4-3 lets you bring on sort of 2 wingish guys. They need to play as those 10s. We talked about this 2 years ago when Nico Seves tried to play 3-4-3, but the 2 wings were like Bernie and somebody else, Obrion. And so they were both played really wide and hugged the line. That's not what you do in 3-4-3. You got to come underneath and play like Valiente and Kaique are. And you can still do that with a Sarver or a Dietzen or whatever if you don't have your 2 strikers anymore. So partially it's been tactically effective, probably partially Quill's looking at what am I going to do if they do sell Musa on me, if he's hurt and I only have 1 striker, what am I going to do? How am I going to use all these wings and I don't have a wing in my shape? Let's try some things and see what we got,
Yeah.
So it's interesting to watch them also experiment a little bit, but I did not have Kaique being a 10 in my bingo card by any means, but he's not doing it to be a playmaking 10. He's doing it to be a high presser. You can almost call him a high 6 in the sense that he's busting his ass up there and winning balls back and turning guys over and high pressing.
Yeah,
not really playmaking.
I'm glad you brought this up because it was my observation from this game and when he played that same position watching it on TV is that in some ways it actually maximizes the thing that Kaique does that drives us nuts, which is he's just running around the field chasing the ball all the time and not always necessarily in a really good position to defend. And so if he's playing this more high position area, the impact of that is lessened. At least it's not in a more it's in a lesser dangerous area of the field. How about that? And you get the benefit of him putting everybody under pressure, which is in their half of the field. Which to be fair to the guy, it actually worked out in the prior game because that goal was created when he was putting pressure on that guy in the box against San Diego. So.
Yeah, credit to Quill who's invented a new position. Like Pep thought of the free 8. Well, Quill's got high 6 or 10-6 dog or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. It's a high 6.
Attacking third defensive midfielder.
Yeah, attacking D-mid. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's certainly unique. And it optimizes that kid's ability. And let's give Valiente some credit too. He's a really nice high presser.
Oh yeah, he loves to run.
Yeah,
100%.
So listen, I have questions about that much high press holding up long term in the heat and the load of MLS and the high number of games when you get into Leagues Cup. And obviously the midsummer break will help a little bit for FC Dallas in that regard. So it's probably not sustainable forever with that level of high press in it. But you can still play a 3-4-3 in the way Dallas usually plays, which is this low to mid block and sort of sitting back and waiting and countering. You can definitely do that. That's a viable thing for sure. You may just have to limit a little bit how much you high press out of it. That's all.
Yeah. Now we haven't talked a lot about the defense, and this is a game where Dallas does give up 3 goals. And we got another start from Nolan Norris, which this was interesting because this wasn't a start caused because Uragide isn't available like it was the last time. This was Uragide starts, Shaq's on the right, Nolan's on the left, Ibeagha sits, we all celebrate, and we get to watch the kid play a little bit more. And I think this is a passable setup, but they gave up 3 goals and we still
Well, the 3 goals are not coming from those 3 dudes. It's Collodi's gaff, which doesn't matter who's in there. Maldini's in there, doesn't matter. That ball's going to the goal. The man marking, not man marking, excuse me, the zonal marking on the corner is a team collective meltdown. That's really not those 3 guys, I don't think. It's more of a system problem, I think. And then the Johansson goal, that's not the 3 guys in the middle either. That ball comes from a mistake, a little bit of lack of pressure, and a gorgeous ball no matter what. And Johansson misplaying in terms of whether he should have played the high line or not. So more Uragide and Nolas did a really nice job. So has Ibeagha when he's been in there. I love Ibeagha as a late game defensive sub, way more than I like him as a starter, mainly because I like Norris's long passing and his aggressiveness. His average position is quite high. He loves to come up into midfield and win balls back and then play those spraying passes and getting guys on the run. Could you make a case that he's outplaying Ibeagha? Other than the passing, I don't know that he's outplaying the guy, but at the same time, this team is not MLS Cup winning right this minute. And Ibeagha, you cannot play him into being better than he is. He's 34.
Yeah,
Norris is at 20.
Right.
Norris has upside and future and potential. I'm very happy to live with some Norris mistakes defensively. Not that we're seeing a lot of them, but if we do, I'm very happy to live with that in order to keep progressing that young man who's a phenomenal passer. And so far, he and Bernie have been fine. Norris yells at Bernie less than Ibeagha does, but the gap has been perfectly well protected with those 2 guys as it is with Ibeagha in there. So I don't see a deficiency of either one of those guys playing. So for me, you might as well play the kid who's got a future.
Well, the team is if we're going to say he's not outplaying or equal to Ibeagha defensively, the big upside is his passing, and he's such a good and nice passer, and he helps get the team restarted in a way more comfortable way, I feel, than when I watch them play with Ibeagha, who's just not a very good passer at this level. And
the build was heavily shifted to the left in this game.
Yeah,
because Kappas is also on that side, and Bernie is too. Bernie's not ideal in that scenario, but the Norris Kappas triangle with Bernie is working pretty well, to be honest with you up there, and whether it's Farrington or Musa in the middle, those guys are doing a nice job of going up that side and getting it into him. The other side's fine too, more to Johansson. That side's got some quality in as well. Ramiro's not as good as Kappas as the transition, but because Johansson is pretty good at it, it's more of a traditional like Johansson running the line and crossing, but it's working pretty well too. So they have a nice balance right now. I see Dallas says it's a good quality to have.
All right. So Dallas goes on to win the game 4-3. Lots of drama in the stadium. A couple of observations. First off, thank you to our MLS overlords for putting a correct, traditional, and valued kit assignment on the field. Seeing Dallas in their home kit and Houston in their home kit was a sight to behold. I was mighty pleased by that. Somebody said to me, man, it's kind of weird. The orange and the red's a little too close. And I thought, well, I can get that, but here's the problem. MLS allowed Houston to have a dark away jersey, so this is technically their light kit, and this is a problem the league's own making that didn't have to happen.
Well, Houston's light kit has been orange for a long time now because they had the black aways, and now they have
the purples.
The purplish. This is a purple and orange, which looks a lot like blue and red. The white shorts really, really help it be a light combination, and I can live with it. I think it's fine. I certainly like seeing Dallas in their home hoops more than I do the white, whatever, blue, faded denim wash, whatever, straw.
dirty hemp, dishwater is what we call it.
Color, whatever it is. Yeah. So, I think the kit wise, I think it's about as good as you're going to get with these 2 teams having the kits they have, short of Dallas being able to wear their throwback burn jerseys, which they can't. That was a 1-season deal, which is a shame because the Dallas in all black versus the orange would be nice.
So this is the first time, I think this is the first time I've been in the stadium since the roof line went up. No, I've been in it since then. It's come it's come a long way since the last time I was in there. I think only some of the framework was up or something the last time I was there. And it's impressive to see, and you do begin to get an idea of where this thing is headed, although it screamingly reminds me of the time my wife and I made the terrible decision to live in our house while we had the kitchen, bathroom, and another part of the downstairs renovated. That was a really shitty, stupid decision on our part.
I remember that.
Regretted.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's what that place gives me the vibe of the entire time. I mean, it does. I know they don't want to hear it, but it does impact the vibe of that entire game day experience.
Yeah.
Getting in and out of the stadium isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And maybe that's just because there's half as many people trying to get in and out of the stadium, but the overall experience, it's hard to get a real a sense of energy building in there for whatever reason. But the good news is this new gigantic roof line, and this one that's up now is what, half the size of the one to come?
Maybe more than half, but yeah, it's much smaller than the other one. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, you really you're beginning to get a sense of just how kind of more intimate the entire thing is going to feel when it's all done. The other observation is something that you said from the jump on this, and I never really picked up on it, but this is where it became so apparent to me and evident, is that the thing that I don't think we've talked about out of this remarkable project is at the end of this project, the capacity of the stadium is only going to be slightly more than it was before this entire thing.
$2,000 more, yeah.
And almost all of that is going to come not from general seating out in the stands. It's going to come from these fancy suites.
Yeah, added suites and a little bit of space returning to the stage. That's basically it.
Yeah, and at this point we don't even know how much of the stage, that whole north end's coming back, because it may not be this. Some of it's coming back. Yeah,
but so not the original plans though. No.
Yeah, it is funny to me that we're spending all this money to redo the stadium and get a roof and a bunch of suites.
Well, I've talked about this a lot. This is the thing that's happening in modern sports, is the upgrading of the game day experience so you can charge more. It's more suites, it's more amenities, it's better food, it's different food, it's more entertainment value. It's the big, huge screen that people like. Rather than say, I'm going to build a 50,000 seat stadium and have it be empty half the time, I'm going to have my stadium be the same size. I'm just going to make it way nicer and charge more.
Yeah.
So that's modern. There's even people that are like, the famous example right now is the Buffalo Bills are building a new stadium. It's actually smaller than their old one, but it has a bunch of amenities. The prices are going way, way up, and a bunch of the local Bills fans that have been there for a million years are getting priced out because it's going to be businesses and corporate and luxury suites and stuff. Hey, whatever. It's their team. They're going to make a bunch of money. That place at $22,000 is pretty cooking. I mean, it's going to be fun. Like it is. Like,
with that new roof line and stuff, it's going to be, it'll be great. Assuming they can fill it up. And
yeah. Remember from the very beginning, there was always this idea that you could add a second deck to that place all the way around. That's been a possibility the entire time. And they've completely tossed that and gone with this upgrade idea instead. They're tearing down the whole thing. They could have done whatever they wanted to, and they're just going to make it really fancy. Okay, that's cool. I mean, it'll still be a good vibe, I guess they're not planning on Sunday needing a stadium that holds 50,000 people. But, if they have that level of demand, the ticket prices will just go up more. So,
well, the other thing that struck me as interesting will be to watch how this thing goes forward when they move everybody to the east side after the World Cup and they begin to tear down the north and west side, and what that game day experience is going to be like. When that giant structure comes down and everybody's just glaring off into the setting sun.
A flat parking lot with the setting sun above. It's going to be brutal.
They've got to have something planned to help block that off and keep people from
a giant scrim
having all like 20,000 retinas go dark because they've
wear your sunglasses.
Yeah,
get some blue blockers for everyone.
Maybe that's what they do. They'll hand out FC Dallas sunglasses.
Every game is a free sunglasses. Yeah,
paper ones like the 3D ones you get at the 3D movies. Everybody's wearing those so they don't. That'll be great. Now, the other thing to talk about is word that Dallas appears to be on the precipice of acquiring a player. And I find this one weird, Buzz, if this ends up being true.
Do you?
Well, you predicted it the other day.
Yeah, I predicted it. Yeah.
You predicted it. I guess I am just curious. It's Santi Moreno, who is the Colombian player who was playing in Portland and got sideways with them for whatever the reason was, got sold to Fluminense down in Brazil, has played barely zero down in Brazil, and now apparently this is the part of the story that I don't think is unfair to take a closer look at. I think Buzz, just kind of investigate the meanings and purposes behind this, because yes, this is the exact same club that magically showed up out of nowhere right when you needed to get a certain high paid player off your roster to take him off your hands.
What?
And now you're cutting a deal to take a player that they need to get off their hands for about the same amount of money.
Yeah. Well, it's the thing. It's a loan deal, but the buy is reportedly basically the same money that they sold to Jacosta at the same time. Huh. You don't say. What a coincidence that's how that worked out.
I'm sure it's just the coincidence.
Just tell them to keep the money. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure, like, look, I don't know anything about Fluminense and their money situation, but I'm sure they're not drowning in money. So they probably were quite happy to be like, can we send you a player back? Sure. Now, here's the upside. This dude was a U22 initiative player for Portland, but really good, like really produced, and was, on the cusp of being like, oh, we're going to pay you more money, and then wanted to leave for whatever. But the other side of that coin is that he had a green card when he was here before. Now, I don't know jack squat about immigration stuff, so don't ask me if that holds over or whether he has a resident card or whatever. I don't even know. But he was not an international before when he left, so let's presume that can happen again, right? So that's not an issue. He's going to be on a loan, so this first half of this season, or maybe this even whole season, he'll basically be really, really cheap on the cap, so that's not a hit, right? You're talking about a dude that, because he was in this league, you can scout him easily. You probably have books and tape for miles on this guy. You know exactly what you're getting. The reason I predicted it is the minute I saw that player linked to MLS at all, I was like, oh, that's going to be Dallas, because A, he plays for a Brazilian club that Zanata already knows very well and has good relationship with. As you mentioned, they sold Joe Costa there. B, he's a winger, and Zanata can't stand not buying every winger he can get his hands on. He's Colombian, which, again, South American. Like, he'll be comfortable here. This club has a really good South American flavor. Right now it's a little more Brazilian than otherwise, but Patrick Delgado's from Ecuador. They've got a long tradition of Latin Hispanic players here, fans here. So, like, that's not a problem. There's a good Colombian community in Dallas. I mean, it ain't Miami, but whatever, So I think there's a lot of things. The minute I saw the name, I was like, oh, that's going to be Dallas. And sure enough, it was. So everyone's reporting that it's happening. So it's going to be quick when he gets here. It'll be quick.
So I got two questions. One, is this a player that's going to show up in a bad mood because he got the deal, the move he wanted, only it not to work out? Now he's back in a country or a place he didn't want to be not that long ago.
Some of go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
And two, he's a winger. And this team doesn't play with wings. It doesn't need a winger. That's what the Dietzen dude does.
In theory, well, okay. Number one, there's lots of reports that he was really lonely in Brazil, and it has not gone well in terms of him and being happy that way. Well, if he was here in the United States for a bit, maybe he'll be more comfortable. And again, like I said, there's a pretty good Hispanic community at FC Dallas in the team, right? So I think that probably will be a little bit better for him, perhaps. You hope. But the second part of that question is yes. Well, remember that Anderson Julio is out. And there were some shots the other day of he posted on Instagram of himself on a bike with a big old knee brace on his knee. So let's say he's out through the World Cup, maybe, Anderson Julio. And remember, too, that there's a good chance that you're going to sell Musa. We've been talking this to death. Well, at that point, you're only going to have one striker, and there's no reason not to go back to, like we've just been talking about, this 3-4-3 or maybe a 4-3-3, a system that he's going to use a whole bunch more wingers. And I think it's very plausible that you could use this guy, this Santiago, as that underneath role where Kayik's been playing, particularly if you're not going to press quite as much, but you're going to sit a little deep and have some verticality out of that spot. He can definitely give you that. So the difference between him and Dietzen is that Moreno has proven it in MLS at a pretty high rate, and Dietzen never has, not in MLS. He has for Haiti, but not for MLS. So, again, Zanata loves himself some wingers, so he couldn't help himself, but I think it is a player that will fit a longer-term vision of how Quill would want to play. So I'm okay with it in all those parameters. I don't have any complaints about it.
All right. Well, you make me feel better about it because my read on it was this was more of the standard operating procedure of acquiring players to sell them on at a profit down the road kind of thing, and less about quality roster building. And if you're willing to give Zanota enough credit and foresight to bring in a winger because he thinks he's going to need wingers for a formation change down the road, then okay, I'll follow your lead on that one.
Remember too that Anderson Julio is 29, which is not super old, but he's also out of contract. He's out of options. And there was talk when he first came here that Anderson wanted to go back down somewhere south, for the final phases of his career. So I think it's very likely that Anderson Julio at the end of the season will say no thank you to a new contract and want to go. So he's probably out of the question. So I would anticipate that the idea of this player, for the loan right now, you can fit him in at a really good number and help get you through the Anderson Julio injury, help get you through post World Cup while you're trying to figure out where to spend your DP money. And then longer term, because he was a U22 initiative and the loan will come in initially and the price is not too bad in terms of the buy. Like, I don't think he would be a DP. I think you could get him at a TAM level, which means like you don't have to burn one of your DP spots on the guy. So you would still have potentially 2 or 3 open DP spots, depending on when Musa sales goes in the U22 system. So there's some positivity that fits. Like, listen, in a total vacuum, is this the guy that I would say like? But given the way the team plays, given the way they manage the team, given the ways Sonoda manages the team, given the way they spend their money, this guy's a pretty good piece of business. I think. I'm okay with this one.
Okay.
Some of them I'm like, what are you doing? This one feels right to me. Feels like a fit. We were just talking about not having anybody on the bench that was worth the dang coming in.
I know, but if you're going to fill the bench up, can we get it in positions of needs for the formation you're playing? Like like a center midfielder or a center back
The timeline on a 2-striker formation is probably very short, right?
Yeah, you're probably right.
It's fair.
But that also bums me out that they may not replace Musa with a Musa-like striker.
I think they would replace Musa with Farrington. I mean, he just tore it up, right? So
yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Okay.
Spend that money somewhere else.
With the win, Dallas leapfrogs Houston, Yahoo, and now in 8th place on 8 points. And next up is a road trip to DC United, who sit in 6th. Then I was doing a little bit of research. The last time Dallas won a game 4-3.
Oh.
Not the last time. I'm sorry. They won a game against Miami 4-3. That game, that interesting game against Miami last April, about a year ago. Mm-hmm. But the time prior to that, Dallas beat DC United 4-3, and then the following week they lost 5-3. So keep your mind on that. And then I meant to say, when they beat Miami 4-3 last April, they turned around and lost to San Diego 5-0. So,
well, that Miami game is referred to as the Alan Vlasco sale game.
Oh, that's right.
That's the only reason they got sold, because of that game.
That is correct. So that game is, as Buzz said, there's international break. There's no Dallas game this coming weekend, so we'll talk more about the DC United game in the next episode of Third Degree, the podcast. All right, Let's move on to the next subject, which should be the juniors. Burn Junior, which will be North Texas. And Buzz, is the start of the season not going well for Burn Jr.?
No, not particularly. Not against Houston. They went down there and got dominated. The problem, the downside is that Alvaro Augusto went down there and was terrible again. One positive, Enzo Newman started the game, but it's clearly on a minute restriction. He only played like a little bit in the second half, which, by the way, underlines the point that there's no backup right wing back right now because Newman is basically with North Texas for a bit until he gets his legs back. And Giovanni Jesus, as near as I could tell, doesn't even, who knows what. So Ricky Lewis also went down there and instead of starting at wing back, which we would have expected, since that's what he's played with the first team, he started at forward, and they used Natty James, who's a forward, as the wing back. So that was a little weird. Diego Garcia started. Again, Caleb Swan was with the first team with SC Dallas, so that's remarkable. So not a really good performance. The most interesting thing that happened was that Benji Flowers made his pro debut.
Oh, wow.
Now, he's not under contract, but it's a pro game. He made his amateur contract, but he's the second youngest player to ever play for North Texas. I wanted to bring it up because I've been talking about how he's the best prospect they've had since Ricardo Pepi. He's an absolutely phenomenal talent.
How old is he?
Huge. He's 14 and something. 14
Whoa.
and something
Hold on. A 14-year-old played for North Texas?
And that's only the second youngest player to play for North Texas.
Who's the youngest?
Well, I'll get to that in just a second.
Oh, okay.
I have a little story to tell about that. This is why it's important to note some things here. So, again, Benji Flowers is a humongous, phenomenal talent, massive upside, best player since Pepi, at least.
Is he a true Dallas-Fort Worth local kid, or did he come in from somewhere?
No, he's from here. His brother plays football for Oregon. I've mentioned
that that's before. Right. Yes, now
Benji
I know.
Flowers, phenomenal kid, 14 years old. So, for the first youngest player in club history was Matt Corcoran. You remember him? I read about him. He plays for Nashville. Dallas let him go.
Right.
His record was beaten 2 years ago by Steele Cook, a player I've talked about a bunch. Pure number 10, ball handler, wizard. Dallas let him go. He left the academy over the winter break, and he's now with FC Cincinnati. So, yes, be super crazy hype that Benji Flowers is going to be the real deal. But Dallas has not been locking these guys up. You can look at those two. You can look at Eyestone. You can look at whoever else you want to look at that's come out, and we've been crazy excited about them, and they're not getting it done. Dallas is not as a club. So, yes, be hyped about Benji Flowers, but
was this maybe an attempt to get him to stay? Or I can't sign him to a deal.
Oh, yeah, you can. No, you can. Yeah, inside the States you can. You can't. He's not going to another foreign club right now on a professional contract, but you can sign an MLS contract right now. Absolutely.
Do you think Flowers is seen the pathway of other people and is considering doing something similar? Unless he gets,
I would say I don't know for sure, but I would 100% promise you, based on how I know this works, is that there are European clubs banging on his parents' door, offering them jobs to come work. We'll get you a job, come to wherever, and you can join our academy, and then we'll pay you in when you turn 18. We'll pay your parents boatloads of money to do nothing and sit around. That's how this works. So the thing is that I already had planned that this summer when I did my next homegrown watch list that Benji Flowers was going to be on it. That was my plan. He was not on the last one. I knew he was going to be on the next one. Well, now he's going to be number one, because if you make your debut with North Texas, and he's gone from coming into the winter, he was playing for the U15 team, and coming out of the winter, he's been playing for the U18 team, and he starts all the time and he scores goals all the time. So this guy's made this massive, huge leap forward. He's ready for a homegrown deal. None of this hybrid garbage, full homegrown deal. And he'll probably be 15 by then. I don't know for sure. I don't know what his birthday is. But Dallas has on their hands a real problem. You have a phenomenal talent that everybody in the country knows who he is. And there's going to be lots and lots of people trying to get him signed and get him money. And you're going to have to step up to the plate. You can't nickel and dime this kid. I mean, I don't know what's going to take, but it ain't going to be easy. They're going to think, because if somebody comes around, like look at Sullivan in Philadelphia, right? He didn't sign with Philly; he signed with Manchester City.
Right?
He just said you can stay with Philly, right? That's what happens. Sullivan's not 18, so you see how this works now.
Yeah, it's this is the crazy part of this, and this is something we saw early with Dallas. And now we're seeing it with other MLS clubs that are starting to produce talent that the rest of the globe is interested in. Is this weird situation where they're finding and producing talent that they may never get to monetize. We've talked about this ad nauseum over the years. It all started back with the Weston McKennie situation. Yep. And how back then we said, okay, well, this is the problem going forward. The Hunts chose Dallas to be their MLS club they keep for a reason, because this is the hotbed of talent, way more than Kansas City and Columbus combined times two. And the problem is you're going to have such an overload of talent when you get to your best tier one guys. You're going to have to be ready to wheel and deal to keep those kids. And some of those kids, no matter what deal you put on the table, aren't staying because they want to go to Europe or they want to do something different,
Yeah, well, you have to make it clear to them that when it's time, we'll sell you. That's one of the reasons why Dallas does sell kids, is because they want to make that clear. But this is that level player. This is Weston McKennie. This is Chris Richards. This is
wow, you put him that high.
Oh yeah. Okay, this is that level of talent. Yeah, and I'm not the only one saying this. There's lots of
Oh
people
no, I
saying
believe
this.
you. Yeah,
Yeah, this is
yeah.
this is the best guy since Pepe easily. This is the
Well,
level
too
of
bad for
conversation.
his debut. They got dominated by Houston and lost 2-0.
Yeah, but it was important that he played like 10 minutes. That's what matters. It's like, because this is part of the FC Dallas way is they give you a taste at this level, maybe give you a couple of games, and then they sort of take you back to the academy, and they see how you react. That's part of the test, right? You don't want to see a player go back to the academy and then pout and quit and be like, I don't need to be here. I need to be. No. You go back to the academy and score 5 and make it look stupid that you're back in the academy. That's what you do, right? So that's the reaction they want to see. So they'll give him a little taste, see how it goes. This is a kid that's already getting first team training, 14 years old. This is legit. This is a guy. Now, listen, there are other dudes between his age and the first team that are really, really nice. Some of them are signed and some of them are about to be signed. These are really quality players that are going to be pros, but not that Pepe level. This is the guy that like people will be paying attention, when you get there.
Okay.
So if they can even get him at all.
Well, Little Burn sits until April 10th, and that is when their next game is. Next up, it is Pegasus. Dallas Trinity had a game against my other USL SL team, Sporting Jacks. I lived in Jacksonville for a little while. Man, they got woman handled and lost 4-0.
Yeah.
Is this the worst loss in Trinity history?
Oh gosh, I don't know. It's certainly one of the worst ones at home. They may have lost more than this somewhere. But the weird thing was like watching the game, they didn't get out soccered. Like they played some decent soccer, but there were these individual mistakes that would happen, like one-on-one, like one defender getting beat or one defender not quite closing down time. And now Coach Thackeray talked a lot about how tired his team is because they've been playing a few more games than other people, and the team's coming in playing them around 10-day, 2-week rests coming in and playing them when they're on like a 4-day rest. And so he wasn't happy about that. Maybe that's the difference. But then again, Sporting Jacks is the first place team in the league. I think they have 1 loss on the year. They're very, very, very good. So
they're an expansion team too, by the way.
Yeah, they're not. This is not a team that where you go, this is not a bad beat. No, they're awesome, that team, and they beat Dallas deservedly, Trinity deservedly. So, Trinity is in 4th place still. They've had some nice pieces, but they're not at the level of Sporting Jacks right now. But then, they're in the first season of this league, the hot number 1 best team all season pulled the chute and collapsed in the playoffs, and somebody else came through and won. So remember, there's always going to be playoffs. You just got to get hot at the end. So Trinity has done some nice things with their roster. They have some new pieces that look good. Pretty sure they'll probably hold on and make the playoffs, but they're not at the level of Sporting Jacks. Even though Dallas is capable of playing soccer at a pretty good level, there's some individual talents that are standing out for Jacksonville that are breaking games open that Trinity doesn't have.
So I am interested in hearing this note that you have written digitally and not in red crayon. And I'm sure, Buzz, you don't mean it in the...
Stop it. Stop it. Don't do that.
Don't do what?
What I know you're going to do.
Wait, you wrote, let's talk about the elephant in the room?
Yeah. Well,
and put somebody's name next to it?
Yes, you can talk about that part, but I knew what you're going to do. Right, so we need to talk about Lexi Missimo.
Okay.
Because Lexi Missimo out of UT was a spectacular goal scorer and assist maker, player, baller, dominates games, smashes people, smashes games. And she is not doing that. She is their highest paid player, probably one of the highest paid players in the whole league, if not the highest paid player in the whole league.
Yes.
Yeah. Way up there. And like this season, she has 2 goals and 1 assist. That's not good enough. The entire team is built around her. It's built to play through her and with her. They have some nice pieces in other positions, and their whole offense is just not functioning. And at some point, you have to start asking questions like, why is it not good enough when you have this player who should be significantly more impactful than she is? And it's not like it's been 3 games now. She got hurt last year after a couple of games, missed a whole chunk of time, but she's been back for the bulk of, she missed a few games at the beginning of this year, which Trinity lost most of, but she's been back for a big, big chunk of time now. And it's just not good enough. Maybe that's a little harsh, but these are pros and she's the highest paid player. and she needs to be better than she is. And if they're going to win crap, she's got to be better.
Are her performances one where she's making a lot of errors or mistakes, turning the ball over, not completing passes, or is it, hey, here's a player that clearly is better than the rest of her team and they just can't keep up with her and she can't do it by herself?
She's better than some of her team. She's off. Sometimes she's better than all of them, but sometimes she's not better than all of them. Sometimes you can't even tell she's in the game. She's just not. She's not. She should be clearly better than everybody else at the price point she's getting paid relative to her team, and she's not. When you're investing such a chunk of money, in a team that does not have the budget of Major League Soccer, doesn't have the budget of the other league. This is a player who passed up the NWSL. Passed that up to play in USL with Trinity, which is, for all intents and purposes, the second level. And if she was playing like this in the NWSL, she wouldn't be playing.
No, she wouldn't. And her injury situation was curious because it was protracted, went on way longer, and there was some questions as to how easily recoverable from it was. And I'm curious if maybe she's still hurt or maybe she's just never going to be the same player. I mean, sometimes you get those types of injuries and you just end up not being the same player.
Yeah, and if someone wants to tell me that, just wait 6 months, 8 months from now when she's a full year back, that she'll come alive. Jason Christ was that way with his ACL. It took a year, and then all of a sudden he was killing it, But okay, you can tell me that. I'll be like, okay, I'll wait. But she's been back for a good 6 months now, and it's not. There's not. You watch her play, and I don't see anything special, and that's a problem when you're clearly the highest paid player on your team.
Right. Yeah. All right. So,
if we're gonna be ruthless, pro game, right? This ain't college.
100%. Yeah. I mean, look, there's a part of me. There's a part of that story where you do wonder where a player's brain is at when they make a decision to pass up an NWSL deal to come play in a new league that is clearly a step down. What's that level? What is that? It's a weird conversation because you can paint it as a lack of ambition. You can paint it as somebody who's trying to help a new league grow, and the fact that it's her hometown and she's attracted to that compartment. You know what I'm saying? To me, there's always this part of it. If you're really the most competitive minded, I want to accelerate and go as hard as I can. I want to play at the best level I can play at. When you choose to do otherwise, it's going to cause some idiots like me to ask questions as to why you made that choice. And maybe,
I mean, she was just in U23 camp. She's definitely part of the U.S. Futures program, a talent people recognize. But, let's do some little comparative. If Jaden Shaw was playing in this league, she'd have 20, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if she's Jaden Shaw.
Well, of course not. But she's, in comparative terms, she's the highest paid player in her team. The expectation was that she would be their talisman, their Musa, their David Ferreira, whatever it is.
But my question is, how many other SL teams would have paid her the same amount Dallas would?
None, obviously. But that there's a question. That's kind of the question I'm trying to raise. Is if you're going to invest a big chunk of your potential into one player with a lot of money, you need to see a higher return than you're getting.
100%.
So at this point, we have to start to ask questions of, is it she's not good enough? Is it the injuries are a real problem? Is it just she doesn't have the burning desire to beat the hell out of whatever TU since she went to Texas? I'm just feeling, you would think give it you read her resume, about the signing, about the hype around her. You go watch them play, you'd be like, great, I can't wait to see Missimo. This is gonna be awesome. Compare even to Sam Meza, who got loaned here. She's not even close to Sam Meza.
No, I think that's the most remarkable piece of this story is for all the hype. I created I mean, hell, I was hyping the crap out of her on the radio show. We had her on the show. I forget for long stretches she's with the team anymore.
I know.
And there's a long list of players we spend more time talking about on that team that aren't anywhere near as hyped. And we just haven't talked about Lexi anymore. And we're finally at the point where like, well, now we got to talk about her, but not necessarily in a good way. We got to talk about her in a concerned way.
Yeah, Celie Strawn's outplaying her, who's like 16, academy player for Solar, I think. Caroline Swan is even younger and is now starting to play in midfield. It's just, you're right. For the hype level, for the money level, for the name level, for the everything, where's it at?
Is she playing in her best position?
She's playing her natural spot, that advanced midfield underneath the striker.
Yeah.
Exactly where she played with Trinity Bars at UT, so.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go.
Missimo had lots of goals and even more assists. She was an assist king at Texas. And she's got one. How do you have one assist?
Not good, Lexi. Come on, girl.
Yeah, I mean, Trinity just signed this striker Boz, who was in the WSL and was like rookie of the year or something, and scored like the most goals in the league over the last 3 years or some crap like that. And she hadn't scored because they can't find her. This one game. It's just like total disconnect on the front line. It's not there.
Okay. Trinity don't play again until a week from Tuesday, so we'll talk about
breaks for everybody, I guess.
Yep. All right, next up, Atletico Dallas, which we haven't heard a lot from of late, but today, as a matter of fact, we're recording this on Monday evening, did put out a press release and a statement notifying everybody the launch of their actual youth academy team, which will be limited to 2 very young age groups. Ironically, 2 age groups that FC Dallas doesn't necessarily formally have academy teams for, the U9 and U10. Am I saying that correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so they're going to launch these, and they're making a big deal that they, too, will become another club in Dallas that are offering free academy structure for players that get selected to be a part of the team. It will not cost them to participate in this.
I traded some texts with Brian Corcoran to make sure that that I had all my ducks in a row about talking about this. And that's true. It is going to be free. They are going to have – I don't know for sure that they'll have tryouts, but they definitely will be picking players. This is not like I can go, oh, I want to play for you. No, you can come try out, but we're going to be picking the players. They've landed these 2 coaches who both played in Spain. One of them came through Valencia's youth academy. The other one came through Atletico Madrid. They both played in the Spanish league, and apparently they both were in Dallas and had been coaching, and no one had really tapped them up to be coaching at this high of a level. Their resumes are spectacular, and Corcoran was telling me some great things about them as coaches based on some guys that he talked to in Spain. So they're really excited about that. That'll be fun. So they're making an investment. They're not going scorched earth. Like, remember when Dallas came in, they started with a U18 team. They just took everybody's best player. The Funes Mori brothers were on that team.
Well, they absorbed another club to start.
Yeah, well, no, but not for the academy. They didn't.
For the academy.
Stole everybody's players.
Right, yeah.
Right, because Atletico did the same thing with Renegades. They just put their name on Renegades. Same thing. No, this is the academy is different. FC Dallas got Victor Ulloa. They got Woodbury. They got the Funes Mori brothers. You remember they stacked that team with everybody else's players. Well, these guys are not doing that. They're going more of a foundational up from U9, U10 and grow these kids up and grow their academy as they go along. So we'll see. They're probably not going to walk in and play at the very highest of highest levels, but they're probably going to try to be pretty aggressively about what level they play at and move up pretty quickly over the years. It'll be fascinating to watch over a decade that it takes this first group to get to the age where you would look at them as professionals, 18, 19 years old, and see what happens with the landscape. I mean, if one thing we know about youth soccer, all it does is change. So, like, if there's a second pathway to the pro game in this town, what's that going to look like? Will they end up playing ECNL? Will they end up at MLS Academy League next? I mean, who knows what's going to happen? So it'll be fascinating to watch. It'll be fun to watch, and it's hopefully going to be another really quality academy for free, because that's important. Like, you can't have everybody be paid to play. There's plenty of talent in this town to be able to put together some really nice teams and take advantage of situations where some guys might not be able to afford this level of soccer if it weren't for the free academies.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's great. It's going to be good.
Shit, Buzz, 10 years from now, I don't want to talk about how old I'm going to be. That sucks.
You and me both, dude. 65. 67 in your case, man. Be retired, I hope.
Yeah. Why did you have to say that out loud?
Because it's the elephant in the room.
Stop saying that. And then last but not least, Clown. That's my nickname for this. Rodeo has a brand launch party coming up, Buzz.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks. It's coming out on the 27th, which is this basically weekend coming up. The event's at the Silos in Salina. Anybody wants to go, we're going to have somebody there, so we'll have a little color on it, a little flavor. It's going to be fun. I just can't. Their brand is so unique. I can't wait to see what this logo looks like. Good or bad, dumpster fire, amazing. We'll see. It's going to be fun. So it's not really newsworthy because we were bringing it up, but my hype level is really high because of the rodeo clowns thing is so awesome, and it's going to be good. Good or bad, it'll be good.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it today, Buzz, but you, Dan, myself, the radio show, your Discord, we've been talking about the forthcoming pro soccer storm that's about to launch onto the Dallas-Fort Worth area in the coming year or so. And I feel like we're the only ones that have been trying to talk about this or paying attention to what's getting ready to happen. And I suddenly had an epiphany today that the rest of the world, local media, is starting to figure that out, because D Magazine actually wrote and published an article today talking exactly about this and running through the list of all the teams that are here or coming in the next few years. Now, they did not include the one thing that we keep talking about. Hopefully we don't end up with egg on our face about Fort Worth and both of those USL men and women's USL teams that are we assume are going to be announced here sooner than later. But yeah, it's interesting. And if you just go look at D Magazine's website, or Buzz can tweet out the link or something.
I shared it this afternoon. Yeah, the thing about the Fort Worth thing is we know that it's there and we know that it's in process, not just from the people at that group that we've talked to, but people around the USL that know about it and have told us about it. So it's a legit thing. Now they're waiting, from everyone we've talked to, they're waiting until they get all of their things in a row, because I think they've seen a little bit, this is my conjecture on this part, they've seen a little bit of how Atletico came out with situation in Garland. We're going to have a stadium. Oh, wait. No, we're going Division I. We have to do a different stadium. Oh, wait, that practice facility fell apart. Okay, we're going to go to the Cotton Bowl. Okay, now, I think they're going to wait until they get everything lined up, venue, teams, all that kind of stuff, and then they're going to come out. So I think it is still on the cards to be a men's and women's USL team both. It'll just be a little time. So, it may not happen, but that doesn't mean that we're not completely right that it is currently happening. It's just not fun yet. So probably a year behind Atletico, maybe. We know we've heard talk that they're definitely not going to come out in USL Championship. They're kind of waiting for USL Premier to happen. So that could be a little bit of a factor too, because since that's not even ironed out yet. I mean, how much do we know about that league officially, right? Hardly anything.
Not much, yeah.
Not much. So, there's lots of nebulous things around it, but it's definitely there. We've found the videos of the company that's been hired to renovate Farrington Field. We know that that's a thing. So
hasn't the renovation begun?
There's some things going on where the city's getting some bids for stuff around it. And I've been told, I've heard that maybe the way that stuff's going to happen, Farrington is going to happen has changed a little bit. So all that's part of why we're not hearing about this team yet. So, just stay tuned. It'll, maybe it won't happen, but they're certainly putting all the pieces in place for it to happen. Something could always derail it, but.
All right. Very good. Well, obviously Dan didn't make it today. We'll have to hopefully pour one out for his computer, because I guess.
Should we talk about the third elephant in the room, which is the Frank Yallop to the Chupacabras?
Yeah, thanks. That wasn't in. I didn't see this in your.
It wasn't in the rundown. I just remembered just now.
Yeah. I we've been going back and forth on this. I have to assume there's some sort of other part of the story to this, because none of it makes any sense. I mean, I realize Yallop's been floating around from gig to gig for a while now in the lower tiers of U.S. soccer, but to end up at McKinney on an amateur team in suburban Dallas, it makes zero sense to me. And I just have to assume there's something else to the story, like he's got family here, or he's got a medical condition and his new doctor is from Dallas or something. I'm just making stuff up, but you know what I mean.
One low key, I texted Hitchcock earlier. He just got back to me, but he didn't really have anything to add about it. He did invite us to come out to the thing. I was like, well, you got to give us more than 12-hour notice. One thing to consider is that their head of sporting is Ed Puskarich. So I would bet that Ed knows Frank from early MLS days. I mean, he played against him, in MLS, because that Frank was in MLS as a player for a couple of years before he became a coach.
Yeah.
So like my assumption is that that's the connection, that Ed kind of called him up and said, "Hey, would you want to come to McKinney for 2 months?" I mean, because remember, it's a short season, right? It's like May, June. But 2 months basically. They play 10 games. It's not.
Yeah.
It's college summer fill-in. So like, it's not like Frank Yallop has to move here and get paid $6 million. It's like, hey, come here for 2 months and wrangle up some teenagers, some college kids for 10 games. Here's a 5% stake in the team. I don't know.
I guess
just me guessing,
because it's not a money. It can't possibly be a money thing.
No way it can't be. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, it's cool. It blew my hair back. Not very often soccer clubs make announcements around here, and I go, "Oh, wait a second, that's weird. That's unusual. That's cool." But somehow nabbing former MLS head coach Frank Yallop, and
it's fun.
And I think
he's a Canadian. About it, didn't it? Yeah.
Isn't he a Canadian international? Didn't he play for the Canadian national team? Yeah. So
played in England for a long time.
Yeah. So all right, kudos. I mean, I guess if you figure out a way to make it happen, and he wants to be here, even if it's just for that weirdo little 2-month season, then more power to him. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Weird stuff. Okay. Well, anyway, last but not least, over the weekend on the radio show, I want to share this news with everybody here, because I hope you guys care. God, I hope you guys care about this. But we were able to officially announce our programming plans for the Kick Around, World Cup Kick Around, which is the origins of the radio show. Once again, back in 2014, Andy and I first got hired by the Ticket to do a nightly wrap-up show during the 2014 Brazil World Cup. And and then it turned into the weekly thing, but we've done a nightly wrap-up show for the entirety of each of the last 3 World Cups.
It's been great.
Yeah. Unfortunately, last World Cup was the one that was stuck in the winter, which was right in the meat of the American sports calendar. So on-air time on the station wasn't available, so we had to do it all online. Well, now, because it's back in the summer and its natural habitat of June and July, the sports calendar is a bit empty, and we are going to be doing a nightly wrap-up show starting June the 10th, 7 p.m., Monday through Friday, on the Ticket after the Hardline, and then we'll do our natural slot on Saturdays 2 to 4, and we're doing a few of the Sundays in the tournament on Sundays that have a particular level of importance, i.e. like the final, and we'll be making appearances. And the other big piece of news is that Lars Siverston is flying over and will be living here for 2 months to do the shows with us. So Andy, Lars, and myself all in studio. We'll be making some appearances. We'll be doing some shows on remote the night of the U.S. games, things like that. It's going to be a blast. I hope everybody gets to listen live. Every episode will be made available via podcast as well. And it'll be a great way to kind of keep up with the tournament, what's happened that day, what's coming up, or what's going on. It's because the calendar of the schedule of the tournament is really unusual. And I don't know how many people so far have taken the time to look at this, but on any given day, games could be starting as early as 11 a.m. And on some days, there's one game that doesn't start till 11 p.m. Dallas time, because it actually starts over on the West Coast at 9 p.m. So, there will be nights where we're on the air and there's games to talk about that have been completed, games that are actually in progress, and then games yet to even kick off. So our hair is going to be on fire. We're doing 30-something shows, 45 hours of programming over the course of the tournament, and it should be great. And I hope everybody joins us for that.
So I should mark you down as not doing Third Degree, the podcast, for June and July.
Well, yeah, probably not. I mean, like the team is going to be out of function. Nobody's doing anything other than World Cup for those 2 months. You may decide to put Third Degree, the podcast, into hiatus with everything else. So
we can talk World Cup.
Well, you and Dan can. I will be busy doing World Cup Kick Around. I'm sorry.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah. I will pencil that in. Dear Owen, how are you doing? Want to do some podcasting?
Yeah.
Owen Newkirk, by the way, friend of the podcast, sometimes guest. occasionally fills in for Peter.
So there you go. What else? Do we need to start a GoFundMe for Dan's computer?
Yeah, I'm still crying about this. No Peter Welpton for the World Cup.
Well, are you going to pay me?
No.
Well, the ticket is.
Well, one other thing I wanted to. Yeah, I know. I will double what I pay you now. One of the things I want to mention is Dennis McCown, who covers Trinity for us. I don't know if people know this. Last game, they had a panel before the game about the 1984 Dallas Sting team, and a good chunk of the team was there to be honored before the game. And so Dennis did a nice post today on the history of the 1984 Dallas Sting, who represented the United States at the first ever World Championship for women and won the World Championship.
Yep.
As a club team, basically playing in U.S. jerseys, way back when. So it's an amazing story. There was no women's national team at that time; it didn't exist. And this was a team that had Carla Overbeek was on it. The Sting team. That's the name. There were two players that from the Sting team that made it into the next national team that actually played in like the next cycle of World Championships. Carla's the one that went on to you've been heard of for years in the Hall of Fame and stuff. So that team was amazing to go to China, and the story is incredible about their travel and who they played and all this stuff. So it's well worth a read on the website right now.
The other thing, I don't know if you know this, Buzz, but on that team was Ellen Weinberg, and she caught a lot of attention this week because she is the mom of the kid that scored the winning goal for the hockey team, and has all the brothers that are pro hockey players. Ellen grew up in Dallas. She's on that Sting team. But what a lot of people didn't know at the time is that she was also playing hockey. She was the only girl hockey player in the area when there was just one rink in Dallas, and she was playing with all the boys. And she went on to play college hockey, I think is what it was. Ultimately got married to another athlete and ended up having a trio of sons who now are all pro hockey players. And everybody was celebrating her. But part of her origin story is that she was a really, really good soccer player and was part of that Sting team back then too.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. But basically, like, I think it was China that really put this tournament together, and they called the U.S. to send a team, and there was no women's national team at the time. And so the invitation sort of trickled down to U.S. soccer, and somehow or another they ended up picking this. Basically, Sting, it was their women's team.
Yes.
Back in the mid 80s that had won something like 900 games and lost 4 or something over like a 4-year window. So they're like, let's send that team. And they did. And they ended up winning the whole thing.
I don't think we as a soccer community celebrate or recognize or discuss how critical Dallas-Fort Worth was to the growth of women's soccer in this country, and why this country is so good at women's soccer, because this story is the best part of it, which is when the United States decided they wanted a team to represent the country, they came to Dallas and said, can we have your best club team and just call them the United States? Yeah. And they added a couple of other players on top of that, sure, but it was really Sting, and it's a really cool story, and I don't think we talk about it enough.
Their record was 409. I had looked it up in the article. 400 wins and 9 losses. Yeah. And so they're like, you guys can go. They're like, yeah, they went. So there's like the story of the travel is phenomenal. Like the food there, and like their parents had to go basically because most of them were teenagers. It's a crazy story, and those women were all out of the game by Trinity, which is awesome by Trinity to have done that. And it's a phenomenal story that doesn't get told enough, and people should pay attention to it. The early women's national teams were amazing. There's some of the greatest players of all time are in those early teams, but this was before that even existed. Yeah. It wasn't a program for women, which is crazy that that was the case in '84 for some of your programs.
Yeah, just to put it in perspective, the kind of hallmark team of the U.S. women's national program is the 99 team, the team that won the World Cup with Mia Hamm and everything. Right. This was 15 years before that. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It's a crazy time. They most of them were teenagers, or maybe like 19 or 20, 21 at most, I think. So like it's a ridiculous story. And they just shipped them off to go play Italy and China and all these countries' national teams.
And they won it.
They want it. Yep.
Very good. I love ending the episode on that note, Buzz. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Well, once again, if we throw it together, be on the lookout on Buzz's Twitter account for Dan's GoFundMe or Kickstarter or whatever for his computer to get his computer fixed. And hopefully he'll be back next week. Thanks, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Don't eat too much dirt out there in New Mexico.
I won't. Thankfully, it's not too windy, and I'll be inside of a truck, which will hopefully the air conditioner will work.
All right.
It's gonna be hot.
And thank you, and travel safe. And thank you, DFW Soccer Curious. We do appreciate you listening, and we will be back for another episode of Third Degree, the podcast.
Stay curious.
Buy a curious shirt.
Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.